What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 3 of the Founder Academy. Today's episode, we're going to be doing some SBCs, a couple of squad building challenges, improving the squad a little bit, and I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach and play a full game on the stream. We open up today's video with the Team of the Week kit that was given out to everybody. As you guys can see, it was FUT birthday, so I didn't get a chance to play too much on this account during the FUT birthday. But in an upcoming episode, we did get a chance to do one of the SBCs. It was a little bit easier. For those of you that got to do the SBCs for FUT birthday were quite easy. The more you did, the more packs, or the better pack that you would get at the end. The packs during the actual SBCs weren't great, but you know, for the cost that it would actually cost you to do them, it was worth it, because in the end, if you did all 8, you'd get a ultimate team, or an ultimate pack, which I believe was 30 rare gold players. Of course, on this account, we don't have the assets to do that, but doing some of these small ones were quite important. I'll talk a little bit later about SBCs. I've had a lot of people, you know, that I'm friends with, or people that, you know, play the game, or I come in contact with, and they ask me my opinion on SBCs. So I've got quite a varying opinion on a lot of the different SBCs, but to go back into the gameplay here, we were looking to improve the team. We went out and got Walker Peters, the right back from Spurs there. He was a decent pace player, a bronze guy. We only had a couple hundred coins that we could use, but you know, these single games weren't really cutting it individually in terms of upgrading the squad, but we just have to kind of grin and bear it for the first couple games here as we look to get out of Division 10, because as we will get into Division 9, you know, we want to get that big coin boost out of Division 10 that will give us about, I believe, 2,000 coins or 3,000 coins that will, you know, that will allow us to get a couple extra players here. But as you can see, the team's taking quite shape there. The first time that I played the game here, this video is actually 2 entries into Ultimate Team. The first time the gameplay wasn't working, they disabled matchmaking, so I could only go in and do some of the squad builders, kind of upgrade the team a little bit. So this is actually 2 different gameplays. So what I was doing was I just went into the bronze upgrade and was trying to get rid of some of the bronze guys as I was looking to, you know, still get a little bit of time on the game, but of course playing the games is what we wanted to do. But that one was quite easy, the bronze upgrade. We completed that, and what that gave you was, there you go, silver pack. So a 2-player silver pack, you know, this will give us 2 assets that I believe were tradable, but at this point in time, you know, there's not much we can really do with these guys, and you know, with most of the silver players, you're not super lucky, but we were actually quite lucky in the sense that we got Loftus-Cheek here from Chelsea, so it was a guy that we were able to use. You know, a Premier League player. He isn't probably going to start for us, but he can be a rotational player until we can get that full bench, or the full lineup done, and then a full bench done with EPL players. Eventually, we'd like to get 2 full teams that we can just have one as a fitness team. That's usually my method. Is I usually get 1 team and then fill out an entire bench, and then I'll eventually, once I have the assets, get a second actual full team. Usually not, you know, necessarily an EPL team. In this case, I'd probably build a Serie A team to do the, you know, the fitness team, but just teams that you can just rotate. A lot of guys waste a lot of money on fitness cards. I'm not a big fan of fitness cards, especially team fitness. They're worth so much money on the market. I don't think I've seen them really dip below 1,000 coins, for that matter, especially with, you know, FUT champions on the weekend. You know, you can get over 1,000 coins, and I've seen them during the week from Tuesday, Wednesday games where there aren't a lot of packs being opened, but there's still a lot of people playing. That's when you really see them. So a lot of people actually save their fitness cards for the weekend, but I always advise selling them, especially in the evenings, during the week on Tuesday or Wednesday when guys are playing the game, but there's not a lot of packs being open. That's when you'll probably get 1,500 coins for them. So save those team fitnesses and sell them during the week, because everybody tries to offload them during FUT Champions, because that used to be the best place to do it, but now it's not exactly the best time to do it, so you don't want to do that anymore. So as we head into the actual gameplay here, this was the guy that we came up against. As you guys saw, that we were able to get Romelu Lukaku on loan, so that's going to be big for us, as you'll see in this game. You know, this guy came into this game with not exactly the best team, so I was feeling pretty confident because we only needed that one win to win. You can see that he does have Hector Bellerin, the lone player, playing at center back. He didn't, again, have like great chemistry, so I wasn't too worried about it, but he did have Martial, he did have Dele Alli, a couple guys. They are lone players, but it doesn't matter. They still play to the best of their ability. You know, they are good, useful cards to have, whether they're loans or not. They still play like just a normal gold would. But, you know, I still wasn't too concerned about it because we've come up against other guys. And again, I always say that, you know, if you're not playing on 100 chem, you're really doing yourself a disservice. So what you really want to do is always get 100 chem, even if you're using bronzes. I'd rather use non-shiny bronzes than a bunch of gold players that are out of position, not on the right chem. I just don't think that, you know, playing them off chemistry or like anything less than 100 team chemistry, your players are just going to play like crap. So on to the gameplay here. This guy was actually a very frustrating opponent. I don't think that he played defensive, but his team did tend to kind of drop back. You won't notice it right off the start of the game. But as the game goes on, his team just, as I attacked, I don't know if he changed to defensive, but his team was just sitting back, and I just couldn't create a lot of opportunities. You know, he wasn't necessarily creating much. It almost felt like he was just holding on for a draw, which is very bizarre, especially in Division 10. So this is kind of the what you're going to see a lot of in this gameplay is this guy just tend to drop back and just kind of absorb pressure, and he didn't even really attack. You know, I was very unlucky. I was still creating as much as I was creating during the first couple games that you guys saw in episodes 1 and 2. But it just wasn't generating the goals like it was. I don't know if it was just bad luck. A lot of people want to say there's scripting or handicap, especially in seasons. I used to be a big subscriber to that theory, especially a couple years ago. I don't necessarily think of it anymore. I don't think about seasons having that much, you know, scripting in it. I think it's just, you know, placebo for the most part. But with that being said, some people might think of that, and especially this game. You know, this is one of those games where you only needed a point, and it felt like I was just going to get a point out of it just because this guy wasn't generating anything. He wasn't even that great defensively, but I just couldn't score. I was not doing anything different. As you can see, the ball was kind of bouncing around, but it just wasn't going in the back of the net. Maybe it was just, you know, lack of luck or whatever you want to call it, but, you know, just wasn't my day on this day. So one of the things I want to talk about, as I mentioned earlier, was the SBCs. So SBCs, especially the team SBCs, or the League SBCs, excuse me, a lot of people have had a lot of questions about that, especially because there's so many packs to do, you know, or there's so many packs to be had in it, so they think, you know, if I spend 200k, I'm going to get, you know, 400k worth of packs back. I'm not a big believer in spending coins on packs. Just because a pack costs 45,000 coins doesn't necessarily mean that I think it's worth 45,000. Obviously, what you're going to get back is usually not 45,000 or even 100k for the 100k packs. So I don't think that's a really even way of thinking about, you know, the cost, the return on investment for doing those types of things. I like to think of the actual player. So if you're to do the Bundesliga player, you know, Robert Lewandowski, is he worth 600k? In my opinion, you know, the one that I've actually only done on my other account where I actually spend money was the Calcio A one, and that got me a Gonzalo Higuain. His stats are comparable to his first or second, I believe, overall inform. So for me, when I look at the inform's worth, you know, a little over 100k. I believe it's, you know, close to 200, but, you know, even his ones to watch card is only a couple 100,000k. So I believe it's worth it in that sense. Even the Bundesliga one, you know, the Robert Lewandowski, I believe, is about 600k-ish to complete it right about now. And the Harry Kane one is only, you know, a couple 100k. So I like to think that those cards are definitely worth it. You know, if you've got big money and you spend a lot of money and you end up buying, you know, you want the best version of Harry Kane, getting that SBC version is probably not going to be worth it. So that's a little bit more of a luxury, but for me, doing the actual SBC, getting that special card is definitely something that you want to do if you're going to use the card. There's a lot of guys that get them and they just sit in the club. My issue with that is that if you're not going to use that card, it's basically worthless. It's just going to sit in your club. You're never going to use it. And if you're a guy that wants to have, the best version of a Gonzalo Higuain or a Harry Kane or Luis Suarez, doing that SBC is definitely not going to fulfill you because you're going to want to have that Team of the Year Suarez. You're not going to want to have the SBC one. Some guys like to have the SBC because it's first owner, but it's a fraction of how good the actual Team of the Year one is. So, having these cards is cool if you're a collector, but again, you got to make sure that you're going to use them. During Christmas is a good example. During Christmas, the cards were, great for the time, but for example, Dele Alli, which was a card that I liked, he ended up getting about 3 more informs throughout the course of the year and a Player of the Month for the EPL, so he just sat in my club. He didn't cost a lot at the time, but those are coins that get sunk and you don't ever get them back. So if you're not going to use these cards, then they're literally cards that you can't do anything with. They don't even count as Team of the Week cards if you're going to get it. If you're going to do some of the SBCs that actually require a Team of the Week. So I've got Kurzawa and I've got a couple other guys in my other club, on my other profile that just sit there and they don't, even though they're nice cards to look at, they're I don't use a French team, so they just sit there. And I don't even use the Gonzalo Higuain card. I have a Paulo Dybala and I have a Mauro Icardi that I end up using, so he just sits on the bench. So if you're going to use it, if you're going to use the Luis Suarez, maybe that's worth the 400 to 600K that you're going to spend on it because he's one of the only ones, especially the Robert Lewandowski too. That's another one. But a lot of the other league ones, they're just going to sit there. So, make sure that if you do want to fork out that money, that it's going to be a card you're going to use because the packs are probably not going to return much, if anything at all. So for me, getting some of those special cards, if they're cheap enough, do them. But for the League SBCs, it has to be a card that you're actually going to use in that league. If you're going to do the Player of the Month ones, they're very expensive. They're awesome cards to have. The Raheem Sterling, for me, still is one of the best cards that I've used to date at all in this game. The Heung-min Son has been awesome. I don't have that one because I didn't really have a need for him because I got the Eden Hazard. And Eden Hazard's another one. Awesome card. So those Player of the Month ones, definitely worth doing. Definitely worth the investment. But they are going to be expensive. You're going to be looking, especially now, the Romelu Lukaku's, even the Diego Costa ones, those are going to be costing you anywhere from 500 to 1 million coins just to get it. So, that better be a card that you're going to use because 1 million coins, you could probably go get the guy's inform or 3rd or 4th inform for that price without having to actually, sink money into a card that you can't sell at a later date. So as you can see, as we head into the game here, you guys have seen quite a few chances were missed. I just couldn't find the back of the net. This guy's team was just causing me a lot of problems here. It was just very frustrating. I was very frustrated. I'm glad I didn't live record it because it was not a game that I probably would have wanted to actually see. I don't tend to get that frustrated with FIFA, especially anymore, but this was one of those games where a couple curse words ended up coming out just because I thought, oh my god, is this guy going to come down and score some fluky, counter-attacking goal on me here, especially with these types of free kicks and stuff. You never know what you're going to get with a guy with free kicks. Fortunately, as you guys saw there, he didn't really do much with it, but for me, I was more concerned. I was thinking this is one of those games where just things were not going my way, especially with Romelu Lukaku. I was thinking, oh man, this guy is not doing anything at all for me here. So is this going to be a bad investment? My other options weren't really that great. I had, I believe, Andre Gray was one of the options, which I was thinking about, but, Romelu Lukaku's stats are just so beastly. I used him in a couple offline games just to try him out because I got him in an untradeable pack on my other account, and he was great, but in this game, he just didn't really generate almost anything. As you can see, this guy's, not really pushing forward that much. He might be counterattacking a little bit, but not offering much in terms of offense. Pretty easy to defend. Especially in these lower divisions, guys don't use the shield button that much. You'll see it in a lot of especially FUT champs, but a lot of Division 1 games, guys abuse shield, and they're actually the hardest players, in my opinion, to play against. Guys that just sit there and use L2 all game. Like, it's one of the most underutilized things in the entire game, guys. So if you are struggling to hold possession, if you're not really quick on the thumbsticks, try using L2. L2, even when you're off the ball, you know, if you have a defender coming your way, or if you just need a little bit more time on the ball, just hit L2. L2 is just going to give you that extra second. It's going to shield you. It's going to let you compose yourself, and it's not going to have some spammy guy run in. It's actually a great addition to the game. As frustrating as it can be when guys abuse it, I think it needs to be toned down a little bit. But for the most part, I love the idea of the shield button. Like there, for example, that's a great example of going through on goal, hit the L2, gives them a little shove, and you're through on net. That could be the difference between you winning or losing a game, because it will give you that scoring opportunity. If you're through one-on-one and your guy's not strong enough, they're just going to go body to body, and you're probably not going to get a fresh shot away. But if you can hit that L2 button, it's going to create that space for you. One of the other things I wanted to talk about too was corners. I've been playing a lot with different corner options. I used to try to do the short near post corner. I didn't have a lot of success with the short near post corner. I didn't find that it was one of the ones that was really consistent for me, and it's pretty formulaic. I don't even know if it's been patched actually in the latest edition, so you don't see too many guys doing it that much anymore. I just never really found it to be super useful. For me, one of the things that I really like to do is go short and then hit across near post. So you play the little short corner, take a few touches. If the guy's not rushing you, walk in as close as you can, but play it near post. If you're going to play it far post, the keeper usually tracks back, but if you can play it near post, especially with the double tap cross, the guy will at least create a scoring opportunity or even get a head on it, and he'll give you another corner. So it's actually one of those corner methods that I find quite useful. Defending corners, very difficult, but in my opinion, always go for the near post. Just bring that guy into the near post, have him sit right at the side of the 6-yard box, and just cut off anything, because guys still go for that near post corner. Like I said, I don't know if it's been patched. I don't see guys do it successfully that much anymore. Not necessarily even in this account, but just in general. But, you know, it's just one of those things that doesn't really seem to get much play anymore, and it doesn't seem to work, but guys still try to do it. So you definitely want to at least block it, because 9 times out of 10 you're probably going to win the ball back, or at least clear it properly. The last thing you want to do is have one of those headers that go right to the top of the 18, and then the guy walks in and smashes it with a long range shot. That happens quite a bit if you're just heading balls out randomly. Anyway, back into the gameplay. We're heading into the 72nd minute here. I haven't been able to generate any goals here. Like Romelu Lukaku, just shots firing on this guy, and he's just sitting in his box. It was so frustrating at this point. I was trying everything, low driven, hammered shots, especially with these keepers. The low driven is still probably the best option that you have in terms of scoring, but with these keepers, I've had a lot more success with just hammering it. You know, I like to do the double tap if you guys got low scoring, but when you've got a guy like Romelu Lukaku who's got really strong shot power, then you definitely just want to walk in and smash it, because we'll hammer it past a lot of these weaker goalies. But the keeper was just having a day with me here. I just couldn't generate anything from him. He comes on the counterattack a couple times. I was starting to sweat a little bit, especially in these later stages, because I was like, oh man, especially as I started to have to push forward. I think I went on attacking or ultra attacking it towards the later stages of the game, so I was worried about getting exposed on one of these random fluky efforts. You know, this was just, that was causing me nightmares, that type of stuff right there, like just some random goofball, bumbling type stuff that everyone's had, FIFA AIDS-ish type things. But, you know, luckily I had some luck there and wasn't exposed. Romelu Lukaku, you see, just wasn't doing it for me. I think having the chemistry style on him is definitely worth it, but of course you're not going to waste that on a lone player. But, you know, having chemistry styles, a lot of guys think that chemistry styles are a myth and that they don't work. I think that's total nonsense, especially pace. You'll notice that a lot with pace and shooting. I like to have my guys as fast as possible. However, if they do have decent pace, the best one that I like to use, I believe, is Deadeye, that boosts up the guys passing and shooting, especially for strikers. You know, you don't need your guys to be 99 pace. You know, it doesn't hurt if you have more pace on a guy. But with that being said, I prefer to have my strikers just boosted up their shooting as much as possible, because that's just a stat that is so undervalued, you know, especially for a striker. Like I have, I've used every Mauro Icardi this entire season, all his informs, and every time, you know, I put a shooting style that, you know, even though he doesn't have high pace, I put a shooting style or a chemistry style on him that boosts up his shooting by at least 3. So it's always got the +3 shooting on him, because his finishing is so high anyway, but I definitely want to make sure that, you know, all his other stats just jump up to 99 if I can. So this is an example of that corner that I was talking about, just short. In that case, I didn't have that much there, so I just played high to the box because it was, you know, he wasn't defending it, and then a driven shot into the area, and thank God, 90th minute cheese here, Romelu Lukaku, finesse shot into the top corner. I could finally exhale. So this guy I knew wasn't going to offer anything, so I just basically wanted to finesse that shot into the top corner and get this game over with, get those coins, and let's start building a team that we can actually use that's almost, if not all, gold. So as we head into the 4th episode, I'll go back to the editing of the highlights because I want you guys to see as many games as possible. And I want to get this team going so you guys can actually see some good quality teams. You know, I know that some of you guys like seeing some of the bronzes and how the silvers play and seeing guys struggle a little bit. But, you know, I want a team that you guys are excited to see and, you know, actually can get behind. It doesn't take much to actually build a team, and that's one of the things that I want to get across with this series is actually getting a team that can go out and, you know, compete with anybody, and how simple it is to actually build a good quality team. One of the big things that I wanted you guys to see was, you know, my knowledge on building an actual squad that's well balanced, using things like work rates, chemistry styles, you know, valued players, all of these types of things. So hopefully this is a little example here right at the end. We went out and got Kurt Zuma, great, very underrated defender. You can see his defensive stats there, and he's got decent pace for a center back. And then we just needed a pace whore up front. So we got Iheanacho. I haven't actually used him this year, so I'm really excited to use him in the upcoming episodes. He's a guy that we definitely want to go in there and make a difference. We need some goal scoring. And then we went out and got Mendy. So 3 really vital upgrades for us. And then in the next episode, I'm going to show you some tactics that I'm using to just increase that coin balance, get things going a little bit so we can actually have some fun and get an actual good gold squad going in here. So as you can see, as we end the video here, we get these players into the squad, and this is the team we're going to take into episode 4. Almost in a complete gold team now. We just have the 2 wing backs and the goalkeeper that we need upgrading, but we're looking pretty good, guys, to come out of Division 10 with that and head into Division 9. We're going to be facing a little bit better opposition, but nothing we can't handle with this squad. So leave a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave any comments you have down or any questions you have down in the comments. I would love to hear from you guys. All right, until next time, take care. Peace.